Okay, this is a video titled Windows Sucks, How to Fix It by a retired Microsoft engineer. So I guess this guy used to work on Windows at some point as a software engineer, maybe. I guess he would be one of the few people who know how to fix it. The whole reason why I use Linux is because Microsoft sucks. So, or Microsoft and Windows sucks. So, let's see what this guy has to say. I'm curious if he actually knows how he can fix it. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think you might be able to fix the software, but you won't be able to fix the people in charge. At the end of the day, you have to get rid of the people. They're the ones bringing the whole ship down. Okay. In any case, I'm curious to see what this software engineer has to say. I apologize if I sound gross. I'm still fighting a fucking cold. It won't go away. All right, 3, 2, 1, boop.
Windows sucks. There, I said it right at the top, so the algorithm can put this episode in the same playlist as rants about dishwasher soap pods and the world's most disappointing sports car. But if you stick with me past the cold open, I'm going to do something that won't actually get me invited to many brand loyalty barbecues.
Okay.
I'm going to argue that Windows really does suck for some people and some of the
It
time,
does.
and for reasons that are pretty specific once you peel back the paint.
For me, I had housebroken Windows 8 really well, so that it wasn't updating constantly. And then I had to make one itty bitty update to NVIDIA, and NVIDIA shoved the door wide open, broke all of my housebreaking, and Microsoft was just able to have free reign with updates. So I said, that's it. I'm done. I'm going to Linux. So that was my reason for switching.
Because I helped paint a few coats of those myself back in the 90s, I'm going to show you where the brush strokes went wrong, who they were meant for, and how I would fix it if, heaven help us, I were suddenly put in charge.
Okay.
Now, I worked on Windows, and most of my code is likely still in there, so of course I'm personally invested.
Oh, he actually
I'm
helped make the
also of
code?
the firm belief that the Windows kernel is every bit as powerful and robust as the Linux kernel. But the software, which is then layered on top of the kernel, the pieces that you and I interact with daily, have very different priorities, and what that means to users like you and me.
What the hell, potato? Wow.
I also want to be crystal clear about one thing up front. I left Microsoft more than 20 years ago. I'm not on the org chart, I don't sit in on any meetings, and nobody's calling to ask for my opinion. I get no credit for the wins, and I take no blame for the boneheaded decisions, though I reserve the right to admire one and roast the other. That distance also means that I don't have to be an apologist for the product. We can be fair, honest, and a little unsparing because the people who love Windows the most are usually the same ones who are getting burned by it at 2 a.m. So let's start with my core thesis, that Windows has spent a decade or two rounding off the edges to make the on-ramp smoother for the widest possible audience. And that's not a moral failing, that's a business decision. When you sell a product to 1 billion humans, you design the UI the same way that the highway department designs exit ramps.
Right.
Long, gentle, forgiving curves that make it hard to screw up at 40 miles an hour. The problem is that power users don't want to drive 40, like Sammy said.
Control panel settings,
slow,
oh my gosh. Yeah.
Steer. So they drive at 85 on slick tires with 3 monitors and a text editor open on every screen. The things that you do to protect novices, like hiding the sharp tools, adding guardrails, narrating every step with a balloon tip, they turn into real friction for the people who live in the OS all day.
Jesus.
It's the right strategy for the median user, but the wrong one for the noisy tail of people who influence everybody else's opinion. Back in the Bomber days, the chant was developers, developers, because Windows needed an app ecosystem more than anything else. The mission accomplished, the development stack is solid, the tooling is good, WSL exists, and the platform serves the world's software reasonably well. So today the chant should really be power users, because they set the tone. They're the ones that friends call for advice, the ones who answer the questions at work, and the ones who go on Reddit and X and shape the narrative. When they feel respected, they praise Windows as the universal adapter at the heart of the PC. But when they feel patronized, they defect to Linux for a real shell and sometimes to macOS for a more coherent, if narrower, experience.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'd ever go to Mac, but basically, Windows 8 was already pushing it with their design changes to look more like a fucking tablet. And then the updates getting out of hand really pushed the line for me, so I just kind of... I just kind of got sick of it, and I'm glad I switched over, even if it is limiting at times.
And the tragedy is that we don't have to choose. We can make an OS that welcomes newcomers without putting the experience in mitten mode. So how would I fix it? Well, I'd add a clutch pedal. Let's call it professional mode, call it Windows Advanced Server, call it Paint It Black. I don't care about the marketing. I want a first-class, system-wide setting that flips the operating characteristics of the OS from safe and chatty to deterministic and terse. It's not a skin, it's not a theme, it's like a treaty between the OS and the operator. So when you turn it on, 3 things change across the board. First, verbosity and nudging drops to 0. No app suggestions, no consider using Microsoft this or that.
Oh, yeah.
No web
all the
searches or
annoying
local
notifications.
search unless you actually ask for them. Second, control collapses into a single authoritative place.
Right.
If something can be changed in settings, then it lives there and it has parity with...
Because the settings window has just made it confusing when I used to just go to the control panel for stuff. Because control panel used to be the settings, so when they added the settings on top of that, it just kind of took it away from the control panel. Every day I want to switch from Windows to Linux even more. Yeah, I know. It mostly hurts you in the gaming aspect in some cases, or if you're using very specific software, you're not going to be able to reliably use it on Linux half the time, depending on what it is. You'd be surprised, though. But Linux is able to do a lot compared to Windows now. Or compared to what it used to be as well. And I still use control panel, to be honest. Yeah. It's made a lot of strides, and it seems like it's got room to grow still. Hopefully not in the wrong direction, but I guess that's why you have a billion distros to choose from.
Whatever was left behind in the control panel. No more scavenger hunting. Third, the tool chain should grow some teeth. Windows Terminal becomes the default console. Winget is first party and complete. OpenSSH, tar, curl, grep, and all their friends are unambiguously available and already on the path for you.
I never really needed to use CMD in Windows that much. Like, only a handful of instances for, like, when I was modding games, and that was it. So I'm not fully familiar with the terminal that he's talking about.
WSL is treated like a peer, not a pet. If you flag yourself as a power user, then the OS takes you at your word and stops second-guessing you constantly.
Okay,
that gets us pretty far, but the where's my shell bit is just the tip of the iceberg. If you listen to the gripes that generate real heat today, there are 3 or 4 big buckets. Privacy and telemetry, being forced into a Microsoft account during setup, updates that surprise like a SWAT team advance, and the general feeling that your desktop is the last unmonetized surface in a world that hates empty space.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they all have good faith justifications inside Redmond. They all feel from the outside, though, like rough edges on a product that kind of forgot who's paying whom, assuming you are paying.
Yeah.
Let's talk
really.
Telemetry first, because it's the most radioactive word. There's a legitimate tension here. Modern operating systems are genuinely too complex to tune blindly. You need field data to know what crashes, what hangs, and what users are actually doing with the operating system.
Yeah, I've thought for a while that I don't think Microsoft even knows or cares what the fuck happens on their software hardware. Like, you'd think that they want all this data so that they can make it better, and then they're making it worse, which tells you that they're not even checking to see if it's gonna, like, if something crashes, they don't even check why. They don't, like, analyze any of that shit. They're just scraping data to sell, it feels like.
The kernel is where a bad day can take a whole machine down, and the last thing you want to do at Ring Zero is a bunch of guesswork. I've explained in other episodes why kernel mode is the dangerous end of the pool.
Right.
When code in the kernel misbehaves, the only safe option is to halt the system and crash, because continuing risks corrupting user data in subtle ways that are worse than just rebooting. And that's not a Microsoft quirk. It's how every serious OS behaves when Ring 0 equals wrong, including Linux and macOS.
True.
The difference is the Linux screen goes black, the Mac screen goes pink, and Windows goes blue. And the realistic fix isn't no telemetry. The fix is radical transparency and control.
Yeah.
If I were king...
Because the fucking blue screen on fucking Windows isn't even... Like, it nowadays, apparently it's just like a freaking picture over your entire screen. It's not actually the freaking blue screen half the time. I don't know what the hell they're thinking.
Windows would ship with a privacy ledger. Think of it as an always available system log for outbound telemetry. Every packet that the OS wants to send on your behalf gets recorded as an entry with a plain English Y, a version schema, and a link to the documentation. You can click any entry and mute that category, globally or per app, with immediate effect. You can export the ledger, diff it across releases, and audit it like you'd audit firewall rules. Maybe add a nuclear airplane mode for analytics that the OS respects everywhere. And because this ledger is part of the power user persona, you can lock it so future updates can't resurrect categories that you've killed off without your say-so.
True.
If Microsoft believes a given stream is non-negotiable, make the case in the open and take the PR lumps.
I would just prefer an off switch, but maybe that's just me. I can understand like security updates, but the problem is a lot of companies nowadays, they kind of socially engineer people to always update because they're like, "Oh, hey, you have a software update. It's important. It's going to protect you from high risk stuff. You have to do it right now. You have to do it right now." And people just fall for it every time, and then it ends up just being a load of horse shit every time.
Tell the truth and let the grown-ups decide. Now, the Microsoft account thing. Now, I can understand why a cloud identity is the default.
I don't want an account. Nope. You don't need it. No one needs it. It's literally just there to force people online. That's all it exists for.
People lock themselves
and
out.
Outlook is absolutely fucking garbage, too, as an email provider.
Of local passwords. They want to roam their settings. They forget their BitLocker keys. A synchronized identity with device recovery hooks solves real problems. But a default is not a cudgel, and the current out-of-the-box experience too often feels like the latter. Put the choice on one honest screen. Continue with a Microsoft account, continue with a local account. No tricks, no connect to the internet.
Okay, he wants to offer an option for people who do want or need a Microsoft account. I would just say don't even offer it.
Patterns.
Or if you do offer it, bury it in the fucking control panel.
If you choose local, the OS should explain once and then stop asking. We used to pride ourselves on not confusing policy with preferences. Let's go back to that. Windows updates are the next big elephant in the room.
Yeah.
I've spent more mornings than I care to remember with my coffee in one hand and a blue screen in the other, so to speak. So I'm sympathetic to the need for security updates and the urgency behind them. But the cadence and the choreography matter. When you push to 1 billion machines, you can't be surprised that the last few percent are doing something you didn't test for. When those machines belong to power users and small businesses, it isn't a rounding error. It's the public narrative. The fix isn't a magic bullet. It's a new social contract. In Pro mode, the OS adopts scheduled, deterministic Windows maintenance by default. It never reboots you out from under work. It never applies a feature experience pack that changes the UI behavior outside that window. It surfaces the dependency graph in plain language before you commit and accept. Like this.
I would also, I don't know if he'll mention this, but I've always preferred having a changelog for updates so I know exactly what's happening with these updates. Obviously, they'll never offer any transparency. The companies will never. But if he was going to actually fix it, he'd better add changelog in there. Like, it doesn't have to be front and center. It just has to be a button that you can click if you want to see it.
This update modifies the graphics stack and will...
You Cord VPN save me from the virus coming from adult sites. I don't have a VPN. What are you talking about?
Reset your graphics drive.
And you should be searching the fucking... You should be searching the internet safely. I don't know. I can't help you if you don't know how to do that.
So you can pick to do it on the weekend instead of during the meeting. If something goes wrong, rollback is one click and complete. And that means updates are staged with 2 kernels and 2 user lands ready to boot. If the new one fails health checks at logon, the loader pivots automatically to the last known good one. We learned this discipline in the data center world because we had to. People don't tolerate downtime at that scale, and there's no reason that the client can't behave with the same dignity. Next, we come to ads, nags, and suggestions. I get it. There's a whole field of product management that believes in discovery.
There should not be ads on an operating system at all. Like, that shouldn't even be a debate or a question or anything. It shouldn't exist. And by I can understand people wanting AI assistance on their computer, but it should be an optional thing that you have to download separately. It should not be built in, it should not be mandatory. Get rid of that fucking Copilot shit, it's disgusting. And OneDrive, get rid of OneDrive too. That doesn't need to be a fucking thing either. Again, it's one of those where you have to opt in manually by downloading access to it or whatever. Like, don't make it the default. Basic respects again. It's basic, not common sense. Like, I don't want my shit going to my private shit going to the cloud. Microsoft doesn't need to know what my fucking pictures of my cat look like. They're harmless pictures, but what the fuck? All I have to do is ask. I'd give it to them then. Like, oh, you want them? Oh yeah, here. Don't fucking steal it from me. What the fuck? And then it's a fantasy and nothing. There's no Cord VPN. I'm sorry.
Discoverability through gentle prompts. And yes, a billion-user platform should teach new capabilities. But I think we've crossed the line over to where the operating system feels like a sales channel for all their other properties.
It is.
And that's corrosive in a way that telemetry never will be. When the OS suggests, hey, maybe you should switch browsers after you explicitly chose another one, that's not onboarding. That's just disrespect.
Yeah.
When the start menu shows sponsored apps, you put a price.
And I actually, just browser-related story. Like, I've already said this before, I think at one point, but I got really fucking pissed off, like, last week because Twitch decided, oh, hey, Brave isn't good enough to operate on our system, or on our website. You have to switch your browser. And I didn't find out about this until I tried to log out to figure out what the fuck is wrong with Twitch on Brave. And that's what I found out. It's like, oh, you're not using the right browser. Fuck you. Fuck you, Twitch. I can actually do that now, so... Jesus.
Price on my attention on my machine. And the fix here is both easy and hard. Easy because it's just a switch in pro mode that zeroes the entire suggestion pipeline. And it's hard because it's going to take somebody with cojones to tell a few internal dashboards to go paddle down a different river, but it's worth it. Trust is more valuable.
It's definitely going to require a little bit more than that, given the state of things right now.
And right now, this is what people mean when they say Windows sucks. They're not complaining about the NT-thread scheduler or the I/O stack. They detest the experience of being sold to by your own computer that you already own.
Yeah.
If you're thinking, okay, Dave, that's a lot of philosophy. Where are the nuts and bolts? We'll pull up a stool. One quiet example of getting it right in the last cycle was adding native support for popular archiver formats and giving us a proper sudo command. Those are baby steps towards the world I'm describing.
Okay.
Making the obvious tools first class and stop sending people on scavenger hunts.
Hold on. I feel like I got lost here. But... If people are seriously experiencing ads on their PC and they're thinking this way, where they're like, "Oh, we don't understand what the philosophy you're talking about with this." You not only are you not paying attention, but you like this shit. I don't know what to tell you. Doesn't mean you ain't based, because that sucks, yeah.
River, but it's worth it. Trust is more valuable than any click-through metric, and right now, this is what people mean when they say Windows sucks. They're not complaining about the NT-thread scheduler or the I/O stack. They detest the experience of being sold to by your own computer that you already own. If you're thinking, okay, Dave, that's a lot of philosophy. Where are the nuts and bolts? We'll pull up a stool. One quiet example of getting it right in the last cycle was adding native support for popular archiver formats and giving us a proper sudo command. Those are baby steps towards the world I'm describing. Making the obvious tools first class and stop sending people on scavenger hunts. If you're going to ship a console by default, ship the one that people actually want to live in and put the batteries in the box.
Yeah, and like I said before, I couldn't fucking play with my Xbox controller on Odin's Windows laptop because, for whatever reason, what used to just be... I mean, I plug this into my computer, my Linux computer. It's plug and play. It works instantly, with a couple of rare exceptions, where I could just, just flick a switch or two and just make sure it's actually working. Like, that's it. Like, I don't have to jump through hoops at all to make it work. But on Windows, it just didn't work. Like, at all. And I'm just like, what the hell? Do the Microsoft top brass even use Windows? I don't think so. I mean, I don't think they use their own stuff. I mean, like, there is a valid reason why the CEOs shouldn't be using their own products, but at the same time, I think you need to once in a while to just make sure things look smooth. Like, I think you need to have a basic idea of what's going on with it, especially when it comes to tech. You need to know what the fuck your machine is doing. And I feel like they just don't. Like, you don't have to use it all the time. You just have to know what it does. I think that should be, like, a requirement, but good luck with that.
I remember 25 to 30 years ago, there were internal discussions around acquiring a popular seashell and making it the new default console.
Oh, jeez.
It didn't come to anything, but I like to imagine what the Windows world would be like today if it had. Another
popular seashell? Internal discussion
around acquiring a popular seashell and making it the new default console.
Popular seashell? 30 years ago. So in the 90s. I don't know what he's talking about. This is going a little bit beyond me.
Didn't come to anything, but I like to imagine what the Windows world would be like today if it had. Another deep fix lives in the land where power and fragility meet. Kernel versus user mode. In recent years, we've all seen what happens when third-party drivers in the kernel get it wrong. The blast radius reaches the whole machine, sometimes the whole fleet.
Jesus.
The reason is simple. Ring 0 is the control room, and if you dereference the wrong pointer down there,
yeah,
nobody's coming to save you.
Ring 0 should not be touched by anything except the absolute essentials. The absolute bare minimum that absolutely needs it. Games shouldn't require it. Software shouldn't require it without a damn good fucking reason. And even then, I don't know if I would trust outside forces with it. And this is where I've been like, if the game just doesn't work because of anti-cheat, I'm just not gonna fucking play it. It's really that simple. Because I don't have time to fuck around with some Chinese game that's popular at the moment that doesn't work because I don't have Windows. I don't have time for that. You make it work and you make it right the first time. Don't yank the rug out of people because you decided to switch over like fucking Blue Protocol did. I fucking hate this shit. I fucking hate this anti-kernel, this zero kernel shit that happens with these fucking anti-cheats. I am just so sick of it. And what has it done? It doesn't stop cheaters. It sometimes bricks computers if you do it wrong. Like, what is the advantage? What is the advantage? I don't get it. Those are credit tests. I don't give a fuck. I'm done trying to capitulate to these people. I'm sorry. I don't care. This zero kernel anti-cheat shit has to go. It's gotta go.
The right long-term answer is to keep more rich functionality like security scanning, anti-cheat, exotic device mediation out of the kernel whenever possible, and to harden the kernel's contracts where it must be involved.
Yeah.
In other words, shrink the surface area for catastrophic failure. I've told the CrowdStrike story elsewhere, not to dunk on them, but to show that Windows isn't unique.
That was actually a really funny day, because it was like, I remember being on Twitter, and people were freaking out that they couldn't do anything on their computer. I'm like, wait, everything's fine on my end. What the fuck's going on? Fucking CrowdStrike took out most of fucking Microsoft Windows. It was great.
Risk. It's the nature of kernels. When trusted code and Ring 0 ingest bad data, you don't just...
But to be fair, that was actually like... I'm sure that would have sucked if I was Windows, but honestly, that was one of the more enjoyable quiet days that I've had.
Unique in the risk. It's the nature of kernels. When trusted code and Ring 0 ingest bad data, you don't just get a polite error, you can get a stop code and a blue screen. The closer we can move functionality to user mode with robust APIs, and the more we can make the kernel hostile to undefined behavior, the less any of us have to roll a cart around an office park on a Friday. If you want a bright spot to keep you optimistic while we grumble, it's this part. The platform is still a marvel of compatibility. We did the 32 to 64-bit transition with a minimum of drama because the underlying architecture respected reality.
And like I put in the Linus Tech Tip video, that should have come out today, actually, the reaction for that. I brought up the whole 32-bit problem, or what? It's basically Y2K38, basically, where 32-bit runs out of binary. So needing 64-bit up and running pretty early was essential for making sure we were ready for that inevitability. So we'll see how things go. We still have like 13 years before we have to actually worry about it, and hopefully developers get their shit sorted out and moved over. But I don't think we have too much more to worry about. I think it's mostly just making sure important government services have switched over before then. Everything else can just kind of take its time, I guess. Or be reminded last minute, whatever. Dear God, Gordy looks down on us Windows. I look down on Windows itself. I don't look down on the people using it because, let's be honest, a lot of people want an easy way to use Linux. I say no. You have to go through the same gauntlet that I had to go through. You gotta read the fucking manual. You gotta figure this shit out yourself. It's a bitch. But if you can't do it, you probably shouldn't be using Linux.
x64 didn't demand a revolution, it offered another ramp. More registers, cleaner calling conventions, the no execute bit, rep relative addressing, and a way to run 32-bit code on a 64-bit kernel without a science fair in between.
Right.
That kind of humility in design is why the PC still runs everything from last year's AAA titles to your dad's old accounting programs. Windows inherited that virtue, and when it leans into it, it shines. All right, let's name and tame the other pain points that keep coming up in the video comments. There's the fragmentation between settings and control panel.
Right.
And that one's on me partly, I guess, historically. We built a cathedral of configuration over decades and then tried to move it room by room into a new wing without closing the old one. You end up with like two faucets for the same sink. The fix isn't finish the move already. The fix is to declare bankruptcy on duplication. Pick a canonical location for each capability and make a ruthless list of redirects. Every time a new release ships, the list gets shorter. Pro mode
Right.
gets a search that only returns the canonical location, so you stop seeing the old ghosts. And for the love of small mercies, print the actual registry key or group policy behind each toggle, or make it available on a right click so that operators can script without spelunking. When you treat the power...
Okay, this is the part of, the fixes that he's suggesting that I think going over my head because I'm not a developer. But I fully agree with the whole merge the settings in the control panel. Just pick one. I would prefer just the control panel, but that's just me. Okay, I switched to Linux. Oh no. You gotta just do what you gotta do. I don't know. I don't know if it'll be that easy to do, but maybe it's just me. Because I remember for a while people were saying it was not possible to do that because you needed new hardware. Because of the way the Windows hardware is, it won't let you switch away from Windows. I guess more research would be needed because hardware prices are insane, especially RAM. So I don't know how you'd go about making that jump at this point. If that is still a thing. If it's not, then I guess you'd be fine.
For users as adults instead of an annoyance, they stop prying up the floorboards just to find the plumbing. Then there's file associations and default apps.
Okay.
If I set a default, don't change it. If an update must touch it for some legitimate reason, tell me why and ask. Don't throw up a confetti animation and a screen that says, "Yay, Edge," after I chose something else.
I don't know why they continue to maintain Internet Explorer. It might be called Edge, but it's Internet Explorer. Whatever the version is at this point, like they're just pretending it's something new and it's not. It really isn't.
A deterministic OS is respectful in small ways, and those small ways add up to whether people feel at home or under supervision. Search deserves its own paragraph.
They like edging? Yeah, I guess fucking so. Jesus.
Maybe its own episode, but local search should be local by default.
Yes.
When I type the name of a tool I installed yesterday or the...
If I look for something on my computer, I shouldn't come up with like all this random shit from drives that are connected to me. It should just be like on the one drive or on the one section. Or if I'm looking for through the whole computer, it should just be on the computer itself. Linux is good about this where you can narrow down your search. So like if you know where a file is in a specific area, you can go to that general area and then search. And then it will only show you from the folder you're in and beyond into further folders. If there's any. If you're looking for something specific. It's really good about that. How's he gonna download Brave Press? I mean, I guess on Windows, yeah, you got a point. I mean... On Linux though, you just open the terminal. You just open the terminal. I think it's like apt-get, or no, is it apt? It's sudo apt install Brave browser. I think that it is. It's been a while since I've had to fucking. I don't install a lot of stuff through the terminal. I think you guys probably figured that out. I'm just always scared of breaking stuff in the terminal. That's all. I know people get mad. People who are experts with Linux will get mad at me. That's fine. I just get scared of using the terminal. Hating that the search tries to look up files from Bing. Yeah. Yep.
For downloads, because I want to go to my downloads folder, I want the indexer to know because it's talked to the file system. Not because some web service blessed it and happened to say that, hey, and this is a good site for downloads.
Didn't ask for an online search. If I wanted an online search, I'd go fucking open the browser and look for it. God damn it.
In pro mode, it should be text first, fast, and predictable with an opt-in to federate results to the web if you want. That keeps your workflow snappy, your privacy intact, and your blood pressure down.
Yes.
And I don't claim to be a UI designer, but for me, the install experience has way too much ornamentation. A clean install should be exactly that, a machine with the OS and the essentials. No candy in the start menu, no third-party trials, no you might also like things. If OEMs want to sweeten the deal with bundles, that's fine. Put them in an obvious single place, manufacturer add-ons folder, something like that, so that the first act of a new PC owner isn't learning how to install 4 gigs of things they never asked for in 8 different places.
Yeah, really.
And if I've sounded like a grouch for the last 15 minutes, let me balance the ledger a little bit.
No, him being grouchy is valid. This operating system is driving itself off a cliff, and And Steam's gonna eat its lunch. Really. Like, I know Steam's just a gaming client, really. But with the Steam machine incoming, it's basically a Linux PC that you could get. Like, it is gonna be a pre-built PC, basically. But you know what? It'll still work better than Windows will. It will.
There are ways in which Windows absolutely does not suck, and it's worth saying a few of them out loud. The kernel is mature and high performance, the storage stack is world class, and the driver ecosystem, warts and alls, is an unmatched feat of cooperation. Games run here first and best because DirectX is the lingua franca of GPUs. Corporate fleets run here because Active Directory and group policy are boring in exactly the right ways. Developers are increasingly happy here because WSL and a real terminal mean you can straddle worlds without straddling hardware, and because shipping native archive support and sudo meant that somebody was actually finally reading the room. The punchline then is that Windows doesn't really suck. It's that Windows tries to be a friendly town for everybody, and the zoning board forgot to include a neighborhood for the weirdos who build their own furniture. We don't want to take over your town. We don't even want to change it. We just want a workshop with sharp chisels and permission to make a mess. Give us...
I feel like that's a lighthearted exaggeration. It just feels like it's just like your desktop's a fucking... What's the word? Like a billboard. And everywhere you turn, it's like... It's like that one alleyway where you meet Spamington and Deltarune, where it's literally glitchy ads everywhere. That's what it really feels like playing with Windows anymore. It really does feel like that. Where it's just ads and scams everywhere.
That, and we'll stop complaining about the art that you choose for City Hall. If all of this sounds like a love letter wrapped in a complaint, well, that's a bit of exactly what it is. Windows holds a special place in my heart because I watched it grow up. I wrote code that still lives deep in its bones. I've seen it carry the world's work for 3 decades in spite of all the jokes and jabs. The things that people hate about it today are mostly the things that got bolted on around the edges in the names of growth, engagement, and a smoother on-ramp. The heart of it, the kernel, the scheduler, the I/O path, the architectural pragmatism that made the x64 transition a non-event for most users, that heart is sound and robust. So, does Windows suck? Only when it forgets who it's working for. Most days it's for everybody, and that's fine. But some days it has to be for the person who knows exactly what they want and is willing to take responsibility for asking. Give that person a switch, give that person respect, and then get out of the way. The promise is that nostalgia...
I understand what he's saying here. But I feel like he's being a bit soft about this. I really feel like... I can understand having some user-friendly setups and whatnot for people who are maybe not familiar with computers or Windows in general. I'm not saying that that shouldn't be there, but a lot of what Windows is just trying to soak as much money and data primarily out of you as much as possible. And to some degree, and I'm gonna just go down another conspiracy fucking hole because of course I am. One of my biggest worries with like Copilot and the OneDrive is that a lot of this shit is going to be used to enforce some weird pseudo version of communism, or authoritarianism, where they're just fucking spying on you nonstop and deciding. Like recently, I saw a video from that Asmongold reacted to about two cell phones, smartphones that got smuggled out of North Korea. I don't want our computers to be like that. Kami, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Or the sub. Yeah, YouTube sub, thank you. I don't want Windows PCs to become fucking North Korean smartphones, where the internet is as fake as the internet is as fake as the fucking Google Maps that they put, where you can't even zoom out past a certain point beyond fucking North Korea. You just can't. Like it's if you guys haven't seen that video yet, you guys need to see it. Maybe I'll link it in the Discord or something. It's insane how limiting it really is. Those phones, and I don't want Windows or any machine that we use to be like that either. I just don't want to deal with that. I don't think anybody needs to deal with it either. And I think settling for an in-between between what Microsoft is, what it's becoming, and what this guy wants you're wasting your time. It's a slippery slope. They're just gonna, even if they ever capitulated, they would just walk it back anyways. You can't trust these people at Microsoft anymore. You can't.
It isn't going to stop me from calling it like I see it. If Rebin wants to win the next decade of hearts and minds, it won't be with one more sidebar that glows when you hover over it, or a sponsored tile in the start menu. It'll be with a product that is unafraid to say, we trust you. Turn on the clutch pedal, hand us the keys, and let the power users do what they've always done best. Make everybody else want one of those machines.
Well, you're basically advocating for the exact opposite of what Microsoft is now. I wish you luck, sir, but I agree with you on a lot of things. I just don't have hope that Microsoft will ever bother walking any of their changes back. I feel like they've also gone far enough off the road. I guess the core, I guess a lot of what he's saying, the core of Windows is still there. But walking it back would be very difficult, especially because the people in charge are the ones who want it there the most. There's a lot of money behind it. Trying to convince them to walk it back would be very hard.
But at the end of the day, remember, somebody has to pay. So Pro Windows with no monetization is going to cost you some kind of annual or monthly fee because they...
I mean, it used to just be a singular price. You just bought the physical disc and that was it. I don't have to do that with Linux, so why do I need to do it with Windows?
You can't just give away Windows forever, hoping to make it up on OneDrive fees. So pick your poison. And when they ask why it suddenly doesn't suck anymore...
Here's what they could do. Actually, I'll add my 2 cents into this. You make OneDrive and Copilot optional, like I said before, but then you charge subscription fees to use them. That's it. So, solved. Solved. You don't need to do anything else. Just add the subscriptions to the things that are optional. That's it.
More, tell them the truth. It never really did. It just needed a mode for people who still like to drive and that know how to drive and shift the 4-speed. Thanks for joining me out here in the shop today. In the meantime and in between time, I'll see you next time, right here in Dave's Garage.
Oh, thank you, Dave. I agree with you on a lot of stuff. I'm just not hopeful. I've been watching this shit landslide for 15, 20 years myself. Like, I'm not nearly as well-grown as you are. I'm quite a youngin', actually, compared to you, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I haven't been paying attention to what's been happening. I'm just not hopeful that we can walk this back. I think it would require a severe change in leadership that would, and basically placing one of our guys, a normal person who knows what the fuck they're doing, in a position of power and actually getting Microsoft back on the right track. But I just don't see that happening. At the end of the day, it really is the people who are driving this fucking thing that need to be changed more than anything. Anyways, that was an interesting video. Like, a lot of what he was proposing is stuff I would have wanted anyways. Like, stuff I'd been asking for myself, but, you know. Why wait for Windows to turn around and go back the way they came from when I could just use Linux? Like, that's it. That's it.